Hello, welcome everyone. Today we will discuss about capital budgeting decisions. It is for the managerial accounting using introductions to book Introduction to Managerial Accounting, Chapter 12. This is owned by McGraw-Hill. Okay, let's start this. This is about quite a long process. Number one, there's a capital budgeting, there's a plan expansions. Okay, for example, if a company Toyota, for example, want to do a plan expansion, they can do an equipment selections or equipment replacement, especially in the area of robotics. These days, the most common one, automated line system. You can either lease or buy and can do all cost reductions for the equipment replacement. That's the key part. And capital budgeting tends to fall into two broad categories, which is a screening decision. Does the proposed project meet the sum present standard acceptance? That's number one. Then you're going to decide. Number two, the preference decision, selecting among several competing courses of actions. Okay. When you do that, there's always cash flow method versus operating income. There's three categories being commonly used: payback period, net present value, and internal rate of return called IRR. This method focuses on analyzing the cash flow associated with capital investment project. The simple rate of return method focuses on the incremental net of operating income. Repair and maintenance, all the way to incremental operating costs, go to the initial investment, go to the working capital. Okay, look at the salvage value, look at the incremental revenues, go to the reduction of costs, release of working capital. This is the typical cash inflow. Okay, all right. Let's move on to the last slide. Time value of money. In terms of the dollar, today is worth more than $1 a year from now. Excuse me. Therefore, the project that promised early return are preferable to those that promise later return. Okay, that's the time value. Money has a time value. And then the capital budgeting technique, the best occurrence of time value of money are those that involve in the discounted cash flow. Okay. In learning objective number one, we're going to determine the payback period for the investment. What is the payback period? Payback method focus on the payback period, which is the length of time that it takes for project to recoup its initial cost out of the cash receipt that it generates. Okay, that's the concept of the payback period. What is the payback period? It analyzes the cash flow, however, it does not consider the time value of money. This is the disadvantage of the payback period. When the actual net cash inflow is the same year, the formula can be used to compute payback period. So payback period equal to the investment required divided by annual cash inflow. That is the payback period. Okay, this is the logic. Management at the Daily Green wants to install an express soba in a restaurant that costs about 140,000, has a 10-year life. It will generate about cash inflow 35,000. What are the management required to do for payback period of 5 years or less, or on all investments? What is the payback period for the espresso bar? So these are the case. You got cash 140,000, has a 10-year of life, and then has 35,000. How are you going to resolve this? How are you going to solve this issue? So in terms of payback period calculation, initial investment divided by annual cash inflow. So payback period is equal to 140,000 divided by 35,000. Payback period will be equal to 4.0 years. According to the company criterion, management would invest in the espresso bar because its payback period is less than 5 years. Considering the payback period, for example, you got a project X and project Y, okay? Both of them has 100,000. The first year cash inflow is with 60,000 here, and project X, project Y will be 60,000. So in year 2, project X will be 40,000, Y is 35,000. Year 3, cash inflow, 0 is 25,000. Which project has the shortest payback period? A, B, C. Please decide either A, B, or C. Okay, look at the project X, look at the project Y. Which one you're gonna choose? Okay, the answer will be A, because project X has payback period of 2 years, project Y has a period of slightly more than 2 years. So which project do you think better? Of course, you're gonna see this later. the logic. Okay, in terms of payback period, of course you're going to choose A. Okay, now shortcoming in the payback periods. It ignores the time of value money, ignores the cash flow after the payback period. See, this is the shortcoming of it, the disadvantage. And shorter payback period does not always mean a more desirable investment. That's the shortcomings. In terms of the strengths, it serves as a screening tool. Identify the recoup cash investment quickly. Identify products that recoup initial investment quickly. Okay. And then payback period and uneven cash flow. Part 1. When the cash flow associated with an investment project change from year to year, the payback formula introduced early cannot be used. Instead, the uncovered investment must be tracked year by year. Year 1 is 1,000, year 2 is 0, year 3 is 2,000, year 4 is 1,000, year 5 is 500. Okay. Alright, this one is again example of the payback and uneven cash flow. Remember, this is an uneven. Okay. Once you do that, we have project requires initial investment of 4,000 and provide uninvented net cash flow inflow in year 1 to 5. The investment will be fully recovered in year 4. Okay, 1,000, 2,000, 1,000. This year 4 will be total of 4,000 based on the payback on uneven cash flow. Learning objective number 2, evaluate the acceptability of an investment project using the net present value method, NPV we call it, net present value. The net present value method compares the present value of project cash inflow with the present value of its cash outflow. The relation between these two streams of the cash flow is called the net present value. Okay, to simplifying present value method part 2, all cash flow other than the initial investment occur at the end of the periods. All cash flow generated by investment project are immediately reinvested at a rate return at a rate return equal to the discount rate. Okay, that's the key part. And then later, company has offered a 5-year contract to provide component parts of the large manufacturers. Example here, cost of revenue information available here, posted. This special case, you have the cost of special equipment 160,000. You have a working capital required 100,000. Declaring equipment in 3 years is 30,000. You get the salvage value of equipment is 5 years, say 5,000. You have an annual cash revenue and cost, sales revenue and parts, which is 750,000. Cost of part and sold 400,000. Salaries and shipping 270,000. At the end of 5 years, the working capital will be released and may be used elsewhere by Lester. Lester Company used a discount rate of 11% should the contract be accepted. So let's look at this detail in this particular case study. Annual cash inflow, you got sales revenue 750,000, cost of parts sold 400,000, salary and shipping 270,000. You have the net cash inflow of 80,000. Okay, and then, for example, investment equipment here now is 160,000 cash outflow. 11% factor 1 is 160,000. Working capital needed now 100,000. Factor 1 is 100,000. The net present value will be, look at this logic. Remember, this is present value of a dollar factor for 5 years. You have to use this table, okay? So when you get this, remember the annual cash inflow here, 1 minus 5, 1 to 5. You got 80,000 per year, 3.9, you got 295, 680, then you got 295,680, okay? This is the factor for 5 years at 11%. You're gonna look at the present value factor, okay, in the book, and round it to the decimal point, okay? Or you can use an NPV fractions, okay? And of course, the best way to use is actually a calculator, business analyst calculator by Texas 2, okay? And then while you look at this, you're gonna calculate 0.27. You're gonna calculate there. Reclaiming equipment for 3 years is 33,000. You got 0.731 for the relining equipment. You got 21,930 here. And then you got salvage value of equipment year 5,000 is factors 0.593, which is 2.965 here. And then working capital release is 59,300 based on the forecast capital of year 5 or 100,000. Okay. So your present value equipment and the list of working capital and the salvage value equipment is both of them. You can total it about 62,000. Okay. And then you add all of them up. The net present value will have a positive. You're going to add all these numbers. You have a positive of 76,005.15. That means it has a positive NPV. Okay. So that is that one. We're going to look at the concept number 2. Then his associate has over a 4-year contract to supply computing requirement for local bank. This is the cash flow information. Okay, so case number 2. Cost of commitment is 250,000. Working capital requires 20,000. Upgrading of equipment in 2 years is 90,000. Salvage value of equipment 4 years is 10,000. Annual cost is 120,000. The working capital will be released at the end of the contract. Then the associate require about 14% return. Okay, these are the case here, concept number 2. Then the question will be, what is the net present value of a contract with the local bank? It is A, B, C, or D. Okay, so the answer will be, take a couple of seconds, about B, 28,230. How do we get this number? Investment in equipment now is 250,000. Factor is 1.00 is 250,000 here. Working capital needed now is 20,000. 1.0 is 20,000. Negative here. Annual net cash inflow. This is the money coming in. 120,000. Factor is for 4 times 2.914. You got 1049,680. Upgrading of equipment, which is 2 minus 90,000 because 0.769, which is 69,210. Salvage value equipment, which is 4 years, 10,000, 0.592, this is 5920. And then working capital release 4 times 20,000, 0.592, which is 11,840. When you add all of them up, become 28,230. Okay, that's how you get those number B. You're gonna do all the steps in order to get this number B. Okay, let's look at another way to calculate in the NPV. Leicester Company has over 5 years contract provided component parts for large manufacturers based on the cost and revenue information. Cost of special equipment is 160,000, working capital 100,000, relining equipment is 30,000, salvage value is 5,000 in 5 years. Okay, annual cash and revenue and cost is about detail here. Sales revenue from parts 750,000, cover parts sold 400,000, sales and shipping 270,000. Okay, this is the information of the cost and revenues. At the end of the 5-year, working capital will be released and may be used elsewhere by Leicester and using an 11% discount rate. Should the contract be accepted? Such the key part. So when is that we have this issue? So we're gonna start step by step. Investment in equipment, 160,000, which is a dollar, 1.00. So you get 160,000 here. Investment in equipment, okay? And the working capital needed, 100,000, 1.00, which is 100,000. So you got both of them. So investment in equipment, 160,000 negative, and working capital, 100,000 negative. Occurrently, the discount use is 1.00. Once you get this one, then we go into the very detail. Annual cash inflow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this is the annual cash inflow. And then, of course, you get the sales salvage value at year 5 and working capital at year 5. So you're going to tally up the cash inflow based on the factors table. Okay, 0.901. You got 72,000 here. This one is 64,000. This is your cash inflow. Remember, you're gonna add all of them up. You're gonna plug in this number. Where you get this number? From the present value interest factors, okay? And the appendix factor. You can also use a calculator at the same time. Once you tally up the net cash inflow, and then you need to do tally up the salvage value of year 5. You got a 5,000. This is 0.593 in terms of interest factor based on 11%. It's 2,965. And then the working capital release, which is 500,000, 0.596 is to 59,300. So once you do that, you go to the next level. You're going to look at this. Why is the example net in cash? I had 80,000. Multiplied by the discount factor 0.901 to derive this future cash flow and present value of 72,080. Okay, once you do that, You're going to look at this number 3. Another example, total cash inflow, year 3, 50,000, and multiply the discount factor 0.3751, derive a future cash flow, present value of 36,550. Once you do that, and then you're going to look at the total. Once you total up, you're going to get 76,015. That's how you get the net present value of the investment property, about 76,015. Notice this is amount equal to the net present of the earlier approach. Okay. What are the earlier approach? We're going to look at the detail here. Okay. Go back to the original one. This is an example of the previous one. Okay. All right. Let's go to the detail of the next one. We go back 72,000. Okay. 36,000. This is the tally up 76,000. Okay. All right, this is net present value of the part 17, 76,015. So if you go back to the previous slide, and when you look at this, it's almost the same kind of style of how to solve the issue of the problem here, okay? All right, let's go back again to the next one. So we're going to move on to the next level of the slide. Once you have computed net present value, you should be, is the result as follows. It is positive net present value, indicates the project return exceeds the discount rate. If it is negative net present value, indicates that the project return is less than discount rate. So if it is negative, you don't accept it. If it's positive, you can accept that, okay? Positive means acceptable because it promised return greater than the required return. 0 is acceptable because it's return equal to the required rate of return. Negative means not acceptable. That's the key part. This is your logic of acceptance, okay? 0 and positive, you accept it because that's 0 is the most minimum. And then choosing a discount rate. The company cost of capital is usually regarded as the minimum required rate of return. The cost of capital is the average return of the company must pay to its long-term creditors and stockholders. So the net present value method automatically provides for the return of the initial investment. Okay, part 1 here. Okay, in terms of the recovery of the original investment, Carver Hospital is currently buying an attachment of an X-ray machine. The cost is 3,169. The life is 4 years. Salvage value is 0. Increase in annual consider about $1,000. So no investment are to be made unless they have an annual return of at least 10%. So there's a required return of minimum 10%. Will be allowed to invest in the attachment, so we will look at it in detail. We're going to follow the same steps. So when you follow the same step, now it's 3,169. You got 3,169 here. 1, 2, 4. You got 1,000 each. You're going to put in all the factors. Once you put in the calc, you get the numbers here. But when you tally up, it becomes 0. So what does it mean when it comes 0? Imply that net cash inflow are sufficient to recover the 3,169 design and to provide exactly 10% of the rate of return. So basically, you will accept this investment because it exactly matches the 10% required return. Okay, and then earning objective number 3, evaluate the acceptability of the investment project using IRR method. What is IRR method? They call it internal rate of return method. What is the internal rate of return method? It is the rate of return promised by investment project over its useful life. It is computed by finding the discount rate that will cause the net present value of the project to be 0. It works very well if a project cash flow are identical every year. If the annual cash flow are not identical, the IRR process must be used to find internal rate of return. So the addition rate, the addition is almost the same thing with the NPV concept. Okay, equal or greater to acceptable, less than the minimum required return will be rejected. So the concept is the same with the NPV. If it is 0 or greater than will be accepted. It is less than minimum rate is be rejected. So when using the intermediate, the cost of capital we use as the hurdle rate that a project must be clear for acceptance. Let me just grab a sip of water, then we continue. What is the Decker Company? Part number 3. An example here, Decker Company can purchase a new machine at a cost of 104,320, will cost about 20,000 per year. For the cash operating cost, the machine has about 10 years of life. So when you're gonna calculate, you're gonna do a present value interest factor, and those investment is 104, 320 divided by 20,000 is 5.216 there. Okay, this is the logic given to you. You plug in the number, you get 5.26. Okay. Then look at this logic using present value one table, present value annuity interest factor table. Find the period of 10 period row, move across the find factor 5.21 and the rate of 14%. This is 10%, this is 12%, this is 14%. So these are the rate given to you in the table. So you need to look at this PV, present value of annuity table, okay, based on the period 10. So that's why you got that number, okay. Go back at the logic here, 5.216, okay? Same thing, there you go, 14%. Okay, what does it mean? So the minimum required return is equal to or greater than 14%. Then the machine should be purchased. That's the logic there, okay? Concept number 3. The expected, this is an example of a case study. The expected annual cash inflow from project is 22,000 over the next 5 years. The required investment now is project is 79,310. What is the IR return of the project? 10%, 12%, 14% cannot be determined. So if this, what is it? Then it will be, the answer will be B. How you get this B? 793,110 here divided by 22,000, you get 3.65. Which is, when you look at the present value factor over the 5 years, the interest rate will be 12%. That's how you get this number, okay? You got to look at the present value interest factor table and you get this number. So NPV is often simpler to use because why? The internal rate of return method, you assume the cash inflow are reinvested at the internal rate of return. So internal return is high is the assumption may be unrealistic. It is more likely to assume that the cash flow can be reinvested at the discount rate, which is the underlying assumption of the net present value method. We will now expand the net present value method to include two alternatives, and we will analyze the alternative using the total cost approach, okay? All cost inflow and outflow will be included in the solution under the alternative, okay? We're going to look at the example, total cost approach part 1. The company has two alternatives, remodel old car wash or remove the old car wash and install new one. Using a discount rate 10%, new car wash and old car wash here, okay? And the revenue is 90,000, new one. Old car will be 70,000, and operating cost will be higher, 30,000. Old car will be same, 25,000, and cash inflow will be 60,000. Old car will be 45,000. So about 15,000 differences. So when we do that, when they install the new washers, 300,000. Cost, productive life 10 years, salvage value 7,000. Replace brushes every day of 6 years, about 50,000. Salvage value will come in about 40,000. Let's look at the present value of the alternative. When you look at that, you're going to plug in the number. Now it's 300,000 here, 300,000. Replace brush every 6 years, 50,000 here. 0.564 is 28,200. And your question is from 1 to 10, which is 60,000. You got 6.145. This is the factor, and then you got 368,700 total income. Salvage value of the income equipment, which is now 40,000 times 1, which is 40,000 here. Sales value of new car in the year of the 10 year, the cash is 7,000. You got 271. So you got a positive total. When you tally up this number, you got 83,000. So it's a positive one. So you should take that, okay, for the new car wash. Approach number 4. Remodel the existing washer, remodel cost 170,000, replace during 6 years, 80,000. If this kind of case study, so you're gonna put the same thing, 680,000, 0.50, and cash inflow 1.10, 45,000, 6.145, which is your positive side. So this is your cost here. Initial investment is 175,000. You got 175,000 here. Replaced by year 6, 80,000, 0.564 factor is 45,120. And your cash inflow is 1 to 10, which is 45,000. You get 270,000. Your tally up become 56,405. Okay. So both projects yield positive net present value. So investing in new washer is 83,000, remove existing washer is 56,000. So in favor of new washer will be 26,793. So the new washer provides better income in terms of NPV. Okay. So let's cost decision maker, part one. Okay, decision where revenues are directly involved. Managers should choose the alternative that has the total cost from a present value perspective. What are they? Home furniture company is trying to decide whether to overhaul an outdated truck or purchase a new one. The company uses discount rate of 10%. So when you do that, this is the information about truck. This is the old truck. Overall cost 4,500, annual cost 10,000, salvage value in 5 years 250, salvage value now is 9,000. This is the old truck. New truck, purchase price 21,000, annual operating cost 6,000, salvage value in 5 years 3,000. You have this number, this informations. When you plug in the number, you're gonna get new truck 32,083 in terms of net present value. Keep old truck 42,225. Okay, you got in this number. Why don't you compare these two trucks, which is buying the new truck and keep the old truck? So you are, the associated new truck will be 32,083 for the overall existing price 42,000. So it's better to have a new truck. Okay, because of much better net present value. Evaluate investment project that has uncertain cash flow. So when you evaluate this, assume that all cash flow related to investment or supertanker have an estimated salvage value of 20 years using discount 12%. Management has determined the net present value of all cash flow except salvage is negative is 1.04 million. How large should the investment need to be made in this investment alternative? So it's going to be net present to be offset 1.04 million divided present value interest factor 0.1, so it's about 10 million. So at least the salvage value have to be at least 10 million to make it positive. Okay, the next one, concept check number 4. Bay Architect considering a drafting machine of 100,000 for the last 4 years, provided under cash flow of 10,000. Consider the intangible benefit of share. How large would the intangible benefit to be to justify the investing machine if the return is 14%? So based on this, A, B, C, or D. So the logic for this problem, here are the way you do a problem solving. So okay, you're gonna plug in this number. So you got this 70,000. It's 60 divided by 2.914. This is looking at the present value here. Okay. Okay, this is the number. So you got this number, investment machine, now 100,000. And then endocrine is 1 to 4, 200 down to 2 times 2.94, 29 is 140. And then you got the annual intangible benefit, is question mark here. But you have this number, you have this number, you got this number, okay? Then you just plugging in 860 remaining divided by 2.94, which is the factor. You get this 24,317. And then when you do a ranking in the project in order of preference, is objective number 5. Number 1, you're going to screen the decision pertaining to whether or not some proposed investment is acceptable. The decision comes first. Okay, this is screening decision. And preference decision is based on attempted rank, accept the alternative from the most to the least of decision making after the screening process. So what you're going to do, you're going to use the internal rate of return by ranking it. And the higher IRR, the more desirable the project, based on the IRR method. For the present value method, cannot be direct compared to the net present value of another project unless the investment are equal to. Okay, this is the NPV. Cannot be direct compared to the present value unless the investment are equal to. So we are going to compare project A, project B, investment required here. Example here, project profit index, net present value project divided by investment required. So 10,000 divided by 1,000, this is A divided by A divided by B. 1,000 divided by 10,000, you get 0.10. Project B, 1,000 divided by 5,000, 0.20. The higher the profit index, the more desired the project. So B is the one. Okay. That's the key part. This is based on a project profitability index. And then compute simple rate of return of an investment. Simple rate of return equal to the annual incremental net profit income divided by initial investment. Okay, this is the logic of simple rate of return. So management cost is 140,000, has a 10-year life, will generate a revenue of 90,000, current expense 65,000. What is the simple rate of return for this issue? So based on this one, how are you going to resolve this? Simple rate of return, which is 35,000 divided by 140,000 equal to 25%. What are the shortcomings of the simple rate of return? Ignores the time of value of money. That's the shortcoming. It has same project may appear desirable in some years and undesirable in other years. Okay, this is a shortcoming of the simple rate of return. Investment center managers evaluate using ROI, which is a project for simple rate of return, may motivate them to bypass investment opportunities that earn positive and net present values. Okay, in the post audit, it is a follow-up after the project has been completed to see whether or not the expected result were actualized. This is quite a long slide, guys. All right, so that's basically the summary of this chapter 12. I'll post this in YouTube as well as in Edpuzzle, so you can do an interactive learning and review it. Okay, so I'll see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye bye.